Welcome to Life Talk, a production of Maranatha Ministries, with Shoshannah Frank Rausch, a ministry director at Maranatha, and Jene Gardner, president of Phoenix Rising Counseling Services. These lifelong friends discuss the spiritual and emotional challenges that face us all. Using biblical characters and personalities, they help us see that we are not alone in any of our emotions, positive or negative, and show us how we can be more than conquerors. If you'd like to speak with either Shoshannah or Jene, you can reach them by email at lifetalk@mmchurch.com. And now be blessed by today's presentation of Life Talk.
Hello,
Hi,
hello.
Hi.
Welcome back from vacation.
I know it feels like a hot second since I've been on here. So yeah, thank you guys for being understanding. It's been a whirlwind. I don't even know what happened to July. It just
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So
how was vacation?
It was good. It was really good. It was long, but it was good. It was nice to kind of get with
You were
family.
gone for what, like 3 weeks or so?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like 16 days. Yeah. So
Good for you.
It was nice. And then trying to get back into the swing of things, but
I know,
which is always fun. Yes. I told you, I told you that I need a vacation from my vacation. So I'm like, I might just show up at your door one day and be like, I need just some alone time of just like, no.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So we haven't really had a chance to really talk about stuff that's been going on because you were on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
So if not everyone knows on our show, but I just currently became a stay-at-home mom.
Yes.
And so I quit my day job.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is I was working there for 16 years. I've only been in the working force for 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
got our working papers at 15. And so out of those 25 years, 16 of those have been at that, the one credit union that I had been working at.
Mm-hmm.
And so I became a stay-at-home mom. My last day of work was July 29th. So this is my third week of being a stay-at-home mom.
Congratulations.
And thank you. So we're going to have like a little therapy session here because here's the deal. I know there's no way that I'm the only mom that feels this way regarding being a stay-at-home mom. I got married late. We all know that. I had a child late. And I think that this probably would have been an easier transition if I would have been married and having a baby in my early 20s, not in the workforce as long.
Yeah.
So my husband and I, decided to make the transition into me being stay at home. And I'm super struggling with it.
Yeah.
It's a much harder transition than I thought it was going to be. In fact, I had a little bit of a meltdown with my mom and a couple of friends on Friday. I was crying and I'm like, I feel so alone. I feel so, I felt like I don't feel like I'm a part of anything. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you're in the workforce, you have this camaraderie. You have your coworkers. You're on projects together. You're accomplishing projects together. And when you become a stay-at-home mom, you lose all of that. And so you and I were talking a little bit about it before we went live. Was that I don't know kind of where I fit, and I'm dealing with a little bit of guilt. Guilt of, I think it's hard when someone says, "Oh, what do you do?" And now I say, "Oh, I stay at home." And what the world perceives that to be, because the world perceives mothers to really do it all, work full time, take care of your family, cook, clean, do the laundry, and I feel like taking out that 40-hour work week almost makes me look lazy.
Okay, so this is what I said before we went live, and I agree with you 110%. You're not the only mother who's ever felt this way. And so we had kind of like talked about how guilt is such an emotion that is so powerful that often we feel it when we don't really need to feel it.
Right.
It's there because we kind of are assuming responsibility or this ownership for things that are like out of our control a lot of times, or we have nothing to do with it. But in this case, Sho, you chose to do this because you knew that for your family, and it was something that I just want to remind you and the audience who's listening that you went into this prayerful.
Yes.
You prayed about this. You talked it over with your husband. He prayed about it. And so you know that I know you well enough to know that you would not have made this decision if there was.
Well, no. And to kind of go off of what you said, praying about it and things, God had to open doors for my husband to get a new job in order for me to stay home.
Yes.
So those doors had to be opened, which were opened.
Yes.
So we know it's the right thing to do. It's the transitioning period.
Yes.
So
in that of just kind of even knowing that, okay, we went into this prayerful that, and the only reason why I'm bringing that up is just to say that even sometimes when you made the right decision, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have guilt over it, right? Or that it's easy. Absolutely. Yeah. But we know that guilt is not conviction. Guilt is different than that. So it is kind of like knowing that, okay, I'm feeling this guilt. And we had kind of talked about this a little bit right before we went live, is that I think it's a lot about what that pressure that society tries to put on women too, of you have to, you're looked at this super mom, if you can work this 40-hour work week and you can raise these kids and you're juggling soccer and juggling all of these things that you're doing. But in reality is that just because society wants to put that pressure on you, that it's not, I think a lot of it is how you have to tell yourself and how you respond to what do you do.
Right.
Giving yourself that choice of how you respond to it instead of saying, well, I just stay at home. It's not just stay at home. Mother Teresa has this quote that says, the greatest work that you'll ever do is within the four walls of your home. So true, right? So you're choosing to do this. And so it is about saying, okay, I'm going to take away all of whatever those societal norms or pressures are, but also just kind of saying in your response, I choose to stay at home and raise my son. I'm choosing to stay at home and be a mom, so that it's taking away some of that guilt to say, this isn't something that was forced on me. God opened these doors for me to be able to do this, and I'm going to walk in his will and in his favor, because that's what he's done for you and Michael. And so just to be able to say, okay, I'm going to change the language in the way, just changing one word often can then kind of help you to be empowered to say, this is my choice. And if it's your choice, I applaud you for it. I can't tell you how many times I wish I could have been able to do that, but it just financially was never in the, a possibility.
Right. Yeah.
But just kind of looking at okay, that's your choice. So then you can say it with confidence. And so then it's you not shaming yourself or allowing those societal pressures to then kind of where you're internalizing it and saying, no, I'm not doing anything. You may have taken out a 40-hour work week that you're being paid for, but you're replacing that with 40 plus hours and, having more time for you, having more time for that connection with your son, and just doing this stuff and managing a home. It's not easy. It's definitely
absolutely not.
No, it's not.
In fact, I came across this great blog yesterday of a woman who was actually, she was she was in the marketing department, had her own firm. I mean, she had just moved her way up, and really proud of the fact that she was in marketing and she had a portfolio, and she was succeeding, and she was telling the story about how she ended up marrying one of her business partners, and they had a son, and then they had another son, and they had decided that the best option for them was going to be for her to stay home. Mm-hmm. And she said, as much as I loved teaching my children about God, and I loved being able to learn how to sew and, cook dinners that I used to not have time for. And I loved, shaping my children and being there for everything. She said, I really had a hard time transitioning because I missed the job. I missed the camaraderie I had, kind of, what I had said, the team, and how successful she was in the business world. And she said that she had to take a step back and try to figure out, why did she miss her professional life so much? What was she getting out of it? Because she felt like, and I said this the other day, is that I almost feel like I'm losing a part of my identity by not working. I've always been, I was good at my job. I did really well at my job. I was one of the senior people in my department. People sought after me to ask, to ask me questions. And I was really good at my job. And she kind of was saying the same thing. And it kind of made me take a step back and think, because she said, why was this transition so hard? What was so important about my work? And why did I feel that my identity was in the fact that I was marketing? Why was that my identity? And instead, she said, I needed to take a step back and figure out what my identity was in God, and why I was feeling defined by my workplace and not being defined by the fact that I'm a child of God raising other children of God.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's a really good good perspective.
Right.
So I've kind of had to take a step back and kind of figure out, where am I right now? Why at this, and I have been praying, God, why didn't you bring Michael along sooner? Why didn't I have children younger? Why? It would have made this transition so much easier. Why am I raising Rich right now in this world? And, just kept coming back, kind of like, Mordecai with Queen Esther, for such a time as this.
Yes.
There is a reason why
right.
This is the time I'm choosing to have you stay home. There is a reason why this is the time I chose for you to get married, to have the Ritz. The time is for such a time as this. There is a reason for such a time as this. And that kind of has given me some, kind of something to kind of dig into a little bit more.
Yes, absolutely. And, and not like it is such a good point that like God's brought you here for a reason. And then it just kind of shows you that he's going to help you with that transition, and in that transition process of not looking at it from a place or a lens of like fear or like worry, or like where you're kind of looking down on yourself, because it's, if anything, you kind of look at it like, hey, I'm starting a new phase and a new chapter with like a whole different outlook. And that camaraderie doesn't have to end just with coworkers. It can just be, okay, now I can kind of invest my time more in my circle of friends, or I can like do things and start like mom groups, or like looking at
it's funny that you say that. I just in quitting work, I found out that there's a couple of other stay-at-home moms in the church that I had no clue were stay-at-home moms. And we had a little mommy and me group this morning.
Awesome. So
if anyone's watching this, even if you're not in church, if you're in the Schenectady area and you're staying at home and you want something to do, message me, and I'll get you involved in our little mommy and me play group.
Oh, this is great. I mean, and just thinking of like how you can, that's awesome, of like taking the situation instead of looking at it like through that, like, hey, who am I? What am I doing? Where's my identity? Your identity is only going to like, it's going to shift, but it's going to be for the greater good, because if you go right back to how we started. God's not done with you. Like, no way, no how. And so it's just going to be, this is going to open up other opportunities and doors for you that you didn't even know were even possible, that maybe your job was limiting like some of those aspects, that you, and so it's just going to be, think outside of the box, that and not like falling to those like societal pressures or norms, like there's going to be a great things that are going to come out of this, not only just for your personal, your growth, and for Ritz's development and his personal like growth, but also just for you, just personally and spiritually, I agree. If God wasn't for it, it wouldn't have happened.
Absolutely. Yeah. This was a good therapy session. We should do this more often. Who knew lifetalk was just my free therapy.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. Anything you need. But you know what? Like, I think it's like, I do want to like kind of talk about like how, and I know we're running out of time, but just kind of like looking at changing those dynamics of, if that thought is causing guilt, you got to change the thought and say, how can I word this where it's going to kind of be more empowering and more uplifting of, it's my choice. And I'm going to walk in that confidence that this is my choice, and that I don't care what other people think or what they view of it or how society views it. This was the right choice for me and my family, and God made a way, and I'm walking in it.
That's good. I'm going to hold. I already know Bruce is going to ask me on Sunday after watching this. He's going to say, Shosho, what do you do? So I'm going to hold him to it to ask me this question so I can change my way of thinking.
Okay. Now you got to respond. Like, I'm
choosing to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yes. Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much, Jene,
Yep.
for therapy. Welcome back home. It's good to have you.
Yes, thank you.
Same time, same place next week.